No, I think the rising price of quarterbacks, right? And where you're seeing Joe Burrow go now and Justin Herbert go now and Jalen Hurts go now. I had more discussions with people about the idea of churning that position than ever before. And I think part of it is you see some of the guys who are going to get paid, like Brock Purdy, for example, has had an unbelievable start to his career. Do you pay him $55 million a year? Or do you have the stomach to churn that position? Right? Like, I think the Packers are going to pay Jordan Love, but would you consider churning that position?
Mm.
I think it's a fast and that discussion first came up for me, Rich, I would say 12 years ago, right? When after the Seahawks had drafted Russell Wilson, well, less than 12 years ago. He was drafted 12 years ago, so it would have been 7 or 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like when they were first looking at paying Russell Wilson, and they had all of those mouths to feed, right? Like Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas and Bobby Wagner and Cam Chancellor. And I don't need to go down all the names of all the Hall of Fame types that were in that building, right? And like there was this whole thing, like, could John Schneider, who came from Green Bay, where Ron Wolf would draft a quarterback every year and had Matt Hasselbeck and Mark Brunell and Aaron Brooks and all those guys behind Brett Favre for all those years, would John Schneider be the guy that would say, nope, I'm keeping everybody else. I'm going to draft another quarterback and we're going to maybe tag Russell Wilson for a year and then let him go. Ultimately, the Seahawks didn't wind up doing it, but I know there was that thought out there that they could. Does someone do it now? And it's, look, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, those guys, I'm not talking about those guys, right?
No.
Those guys will always get the money. But after a year in which Daniel Jones got $40 million a year and Baker Mayfield completely outplayed him at $10 million per, does there come a time when a team just says, you know what? We're going to find a way to just turn this position and we're going to turn it over year to year. That discussion I heard from, like, I'm just talking about like discussions I had casually out at night and that sort of thing. That discussion you're hearing more and more now. So I don't know that we're on the doorstep of that starting to happen. And again, it won't affect the super elite. Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, all those guys are going to get theirs at the highest level. The question is, if you have a guy that's a little less than that, are you comfortable paying him at that level? Or are you better off going back into the draft to find one so you constantly have that rookie contract advantage with your quarterback?
Bert, we've been talking about that for years here. And, you know, the team that we identified that would maybe do that first, again, treat the quarterback position like running back, wide receiver. Yeah. Why are we paying that when we could just go in the draft and draft another one? It's just such a crapshoot at quarterback and so important in terms of the position. Boy, is that a risk. So you need to have a coach with tenure, you need to have a general manager with tenure and an owner who believes in both. And we always identified the Ravens as being that team because of that. But, you know, Lamar proved to be a velvet rope type quarterback, right, that you pay. That's the guy that we so take them out. And so you're identifying maybe San Francisco being that one. You never know. No, I know, and you're just speculating. How about this one? And then I'll let you go. And I appreciate you giving us all this time of your family waiting for you to join them for Easter weekend. So listen, how about this one? How about Dallas? Because the GM is the owner. And now you've got Dak on a prove-it deal now? Like, what the hell is going on there? What about that is churning
if you're Dallas,
the position?
If you're Dallas, well, and remember, Dallas got to pay CeeDee Lamb. They've got to pay Micah Parsons, right? How much is Micah Parsons going to cost? You know?
A lot.
Like, so I mean, it is a thought. Like, and Minnesota got to that point, right? Like where it was, they love Kirk. Like Kevin O'Connell loves Kirk Cousins and would have him back in a second if all things were equal. But they got to the point where it's like, we can't do this anymore. Where we're playing this game where the price keeps rising and you're fully guaranteed every year. Like, we can't keep doing this. It's like, you know, we have to break the cycle at some point. Is Dallas at that point? Could Dallas consider, again, like, say they like Michael Penix more than some other teams? Could they consider Michael Penix at the end of the first round? You know, I think these discussions are interesting ones to have because, you know, especially with a team like, you know, against the Cowboys, right? They haven't been to the NFC title game. Forget winning a Super Bowl. They haven't been to the NFC title game since, what is it, 1995?
Mm-hmm.
And they have been paying at the top of the market at quarterback. Now, I'm not saying Dak's not a good player. He's a really good player. But does there come a point where you have to change the model? You know, that is one that's worth watching. And I can't help but think, it's so funny. We talked about Minnesota, right? One thing that I brought up with the Minnesota people when I've talked to them over the last few weeks about Sam Darnold is how I think I saw a little some. You remember that Monday night, the Christmas night game between the Ravens and Niners, and the Ravens blew them off the field, right? If you were watching the end of that game, the last 10 minutes, I think I saw a different Sam Darnold. Now, I don't know. I'm not a coach. I'm not a scout. But that dude looked like he was playing a different game than he had previously. It looked like he was playing faster, right?
Sure. And in this day and age, Albert, where you just mentioned Mayfield outplayed, Daniel Jones last year. Honestly, why can't Sam Darnold be the the new version of Mayfield? You know what I mean? Like with a new spot.
He's younger than him. He
was drafted right behind him. Same damn draft, So why not? And in the same way, also though, and he's from the organization where there's Purdy, and you're wondering if there's any churn at the position somewhere, and would the Niners dare to do that with Purdy? The Niners churning the position. One of the backups to Dak is Trey Lance. So he's sitting there, and the Cowboys have him in the back pocket,
I got a good story on that one for you. Like, so I remember being with Gino, right? Or being with Gino in Seattle after last summer. I spent a good amount of time talking to him, and then and that was before practice, and we kind of gone through his story and how much he learned when he sat and all of that, like, and how humbling it was for him and everything else. And I was with one of his coaches walking off the field that afternoon. And this coach said to me, coaching Gino has made me wonder how many more Ginos there are out there. How many more guys there are who always had talent, who were thrown out there too early on bad teams, who got knocked around, who were forced to sit down for 4 or 5 years, who still have that talent, where no one knows it because everybody's given up on them. But they've learned so much sitting for a few years. And they've learned so much from the experience of having gone through that. And that really made me think. You know what I mean? Like, you think of all the guys and how the league chews up these guys and spits them out, and how many guys are thrown into bad circumstances or play too early because the coach's job's on the line, whatever it is, And like, how many guys are there out there like that? And the Bucs sort of found one in Baker Mayfield. And now maybe the Vikings have found one in Sam Darnold. I don't know. I mean, I think they're still going to draft one, but maybe they have something there in Sam. And the thing is, like, they have him on a 1-year deal at $10 million. Everybody knows it's going to get a hell of a lot more expensive if he plays really well. So there's just a lot of dynamics at work with that. And I do think, like, with the rate at which the league is chewing up and spitting out talented young quarterbacks who are drafted in the first round or two, there's got to be more opportunity, like the one Seattle found, like the one maybe Minnesota finds, like the one Tampa found. There's got to be more opportunities like that out there.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.